Brio, MX Brio, or I can do the anchor work. Will it work? Yes, I think it's better. Uh, yes, you see, do you see my picture is hanging? Yeah, I don't know. Everything is okay, but this is what. Let us start our journey. Namah Shri Shankarananda. Namah, salutation to Sri Shankarananda. The master is saluting his own master. Why salutation is there? Because we want to keep aside our impulsive, habitual mind. That is the meaning of salutation. Guru Padam Bhujanmane, to the lotus feet of the Guru. So there is always a progress from physical to mental to intellectual to transcending the intellect. So that signifies the lotus feet of the Guru. Savilas Mahamoha Grahya Grasaik Karmani. But why? Why? The master says to destroy the monster of delusion. The monster of delusion has to be destroyed. So, just in that state, just be into that state, still your restless mind by becoming aware of the body in a comfortable, carefree state, or I can say, from the lack of awareness to awareness. From lack of awareness means what? It means the default mind. To default mind to a discerning mind. That is the meaning. Discerning. Oh, what the body you are doing, what the default mind you are doing, discerning mind, to go to the discerning mind or discerning intellect. So that is the meaning of you still your restless mind. Then invite. So normally I guide others, invite the divine within. So or you can say the invite the real self within. But I'm the real self. What to invite? Invite the real self in the default mind. So you remember, you think, oh, I'm of the nature of the real self. That is the invitation. So on one hand, you invite the real self in your mind. On the other side, the letter E, let go of the worldly thoughts, attachment, and aversions at present. We are using the silent acronym. S means the still, the restless mind. I means invite the real self. How? By remembering, just by thinking. And Then the letter L is let go of the worldly thoughts, attachments, and aversion. So here comes the what? The observer and the observer and the observed. Can you just become aware of whatever the thought, feeling, and all your experiences are observed? Observe only one observer. That is, I am at present, it is awareness. So we have done the three letter S, I, let go of the worldly. So you just keep watching. They will definitely come and go. Let them come and go. And now comes the letter E. Embrace the present moment. Question, what is that? Are you aware? Yes, I'm aware. No, I'm aware of lot of problems I have. No, I'm not saying that is, we can be aware of anything. Here means, are you aware that observer is only one and observed are many? That is what you are aware of. So that embracing the present, that is the meaning of embracing the present moment. And then in the silent acronym, the next letter is N. The nurture the inner peace found behind the present moment. How? Your mind, default mind, goes back, goes to, goes to the peace behind all your experiences. All your experiences. This can be done by an intellect only. Intellect means what? Intellect means the discerning mind. Discerning mind means that you leave and drop all your experiences. Drop all your experiences except the observer. That is the word letter N means nurture. You nurture. Peace is already there. You nurture. The seed is already there. You nurture. And the T word, it is teach the mind, teach the impulsive mind using the intellect about the reality of the present moment. So when you teach the mind, what will happen? Today I was just doing this silent. I also apply silent and I kept sitting for about 2 hours. So the last letter is teach the mind using intellect about the reality of the present moment. Reality of the present. You are in a present moment. We already explained you. That is the silent acronym you can enter. What is going to happen? The cognitive change. Cognitive change through daily practice. Can it happen in a day? No. Why? Because of the impulsive default mind, deluded mind, reactive mind. We discussed 5 types of default mind, 5 types of casual mind, or committed mind. We talked about it. So you are anchoring the observer. to even in the waking state when you are living your personal, professional, social life, you can live in the present moment. And when you live in the present moment, that is the meaning of saluting. That is the meaning of touching the feet of the Master. How long we will continue to go and touch the feet of the Master? Master is not looking now. His body is not there, but we don't want to leave our physical activities. And that causes lot of problem. And now is the time to open your eyes. We are talking about the discerning intellect, how the discerning intellect prevents the lack. Not many people have attending this session. Why? Are they busy? Or is it lack of awareness? Sometimes we are in the mood of lack of awareness. Intellect pushes you. No, you have to attend, and still we don't attend. Why? There is because of laziness, because of the impulsive nature. This is my personal experience. I'm not telling about yours. You all are wise. So, preventing lack of awareness, it is the discerning intellect can do. You start thinking, mind, where you mind you thought of lack of awareness, now you discern it. Now you apply the discernment. I want to fight. I'm angry. No. Discerning intellect. Let me use it, the discerning intellect. I believe you are getting it. In the last session, I told you that Eastern wisdom is that journey, or you can say, is that philosophy, is that science which loves the intellect the most. Why? Because we want clarity, we want a self control, we want a purity of intention, we want to guide the mind towards wise and conscious choices. That is the journey of the self discovery. So, what happens in lack of awareness? You discern, the intellect discerns the real from the unreal, keeping the mind awake to the higher truth rather than distracted by the fleeting impression. Mind how many times you have been lazy and you did the wrong. Can you become aware? Let us join. I'm just giving an example. Understand that. Because we need a common sense intellect. We don't need IQ. We don't need to gather information. We need to recognize. Recognize when thoughts drift into worry about future hypotheticals instead of focusing on the present task. So you can prevent lack of awareness by self-reflection also. Intellectual inquiry encourages constant self-checking and awareness of one's motive and states. Noticing when attention fades and bringing it back intentionally to the present awareness. Now is the not to, time to sleep. Keep your eyes open. Ashok, can you keep your eyes open? Or you want to sleep? You see that? We are just talking of lack of awareness, and you are already into that state. Prioritization, lack of awareness. I'm talking of fundamental things, and then we'll come back. So intellect helps organize towards spirituality or practically important matters rather than superficial distractions. I'm totally absorbed. What I'm totally absorbed? No, that is lack of awareness. I'm falling into sleep, laziness. Laziness helps me to keep my eyes closed. That is one thing. Awareness also keeps my eyes closed in a state of meditation. The second thing the intellect does, it prevents your impulsive nature. Okay, no problem. One time is enough. Preventing impulsive nature, pause and analyze. Intellect creates a mental gap to evaluate impulsive before action. You're feeling anger rising, but thinking through consequences before reacting drops your anger. But we have to try daily in our daily life. It helps. Long term thinking also gets you free from the impulsive nature. It considers future effects, preventing rash decisions, self control. Now we talk of this self control, impulsive nature. If your intellect is active, you can get rid of the impulsive nature. Why we are talking? I'm just talking the purity of the mind is required to find it. Preventing reactivity. Why? Intellect helps you emotional regulation, even though emotion is different from the intellect. Think. I'm not saying that I'm right, but just think. I'm picking up these principles from the Eastern wisdom and passing on to you. So emotional, I'm very emotional, I will die for you, die for me. What will happen? Die. You see in a social and family relationship, emotional regulation, intellect helps you. Intellect says that you are saying, making this statement that I will die for you is your impulsive nature, is your reaction. Intellect recognizes emotions without immediate reaction. And then you move into the calm response, receiving criticism and responding thoughtfully, not defensively. One example, understanding the root cause of reactivity. Intellect can help you. It probes the causes behind emotional triggers to reduce your overreaction. I'm just presenting you why Eastern wisdom loves intellect, adores and respect, because it helps you to purify the mind. Mindfulness cultivation. That is also preventing delusion. We already know. You question your assumptions. Intellect challenges false belief and illusion. You see that You see the journey of the Eastern wisdom, especially this Saturday's session, where this master never uses the word God, self, soul, never says you have to do the mantra practice, though it gives you the 30 and 40 practices. They are totally different. One of them is the silent. I converted them. It never talks. And ultimately, after that, you recognize this is what the God is, this is what the real self is, this is what the permanent peace is. So it demands only a clear understanding. Study preventing delusion because it says you study these principles of Eastern wisdom. It anchors knowledge in an authentic teaching. It gives you the discerning reasoning. It does not say you have to simply follow it. Preventing your laziness, it prevents insecurity. It also prevents insecurity. Answer is big yes. Intellect discerns personal truth from deception. Default mind, deception. It prevents, default mind takes you to insincerity, non commitment. So there comes the inner honesty. Recognizing the urge to exaggerate for approval and choosing sincerity instead. Ethical reasoning. It gives you the self awareness. That is, that is the rule of the intellect. And in the intellect is always available to us. It hides behind the default mind. It hides behind my impulsive nature. It honors the intellect as a powerful tool for discernment and self inquiry. You reach to the highest point. Another master, Aurobindo, says it is supra intellectual. So the moment you reach to the highest point of the intellect dissolves by itself and it leads to awakening. But if you don't use the intellect, the default mind sneaks in and then it causes the problem. It means then I'm not able to understand these principles clearly. Now see the positive side of the intellect. Why intellect is adored, respected, loved. Critical analysis of teachings. That is what the listening and learning is. The reflective contemplation, that is the second point, contemplation and reflection. It is the intellect that can do it. And it also helps you the assimilation of the wisdom in during the practice. If the default mind is active during the practice, then you have I enter. One guy wrote to me, I don't want to uh, tell his name, but let me. I find what I find the mystical, not to get too mystical, but I would love to ask you about the rain and if there is any spiritual significance to it. Why you are asking me? You have reached to a higher level. Default mind has sneaked in. Impulsive nature. Your mind is objectified. Objectified. That is why you are asking what the rain has to do. Should I tell you that if the rain is happening, there are spiritual vibrations entering into your body? The better you. He belongs to. He belongs to Arizona. So there is a rain, and then he writes. He has reached to a higher level, and he fell down. I feel a bit of embraced sharing, but had the experience that the raindrops falling were the future disciples. I don't understand. Leave this. This is what happens. How intellect is loved and honored. It encourages your self inquiry and questioning, use of reasoning. You are performing any ritual, say if you are practicing any mantra, use the reason, not as the ritual. Then only it will help you. Otherwise, we just continue doing a Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Om Shanti. So, on one hand, the default mind is very impulsive, it is reacting inside me. It is reacting. Why, honey, you are creating so much of noise? I am doing the mantra meditation. That is your default mind is saying. And you are doing Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Om Shanti. How it will work? I'm just, I'm returning to the basics so that you understand that it has to be done. We don't see that. So that is why we say that the intellect has to be loved. That is why this intellect starts with the listening and learning the principles, contemplation and reflection, and then assimilation of that knowledge to become the wisdom during the practice. And if you don't keep your intellect active in the practice, you will definitely fall into laziness and sleepiness, impulsive nature. It will not work. You will spend 50 years. It's not going to work. This guy, if he continues his journey as a private sessions, this guy, in the summer, he will say, I see the afternoon sun so bright. So his default mind will create some imagination and hallucination about the brightness. Use the intellect. What is that intellect? Sun is an object. I'm searching a subjective reality. I should not be carried about any object in the world. Have you heard? Do you still remember the Sanskrit word for the object? Vishaya, poisonous. Do you remember? That is, rain becomes the poison now. I'm impressed, but let me ask you, are the rains like the spiritual vibrations? Then we have a place where we have the highest rain fall in India. So go there and sit there. You will be awakened. I've spoken much about the intellect. We all have the same intellect. That is why I spoke. I spoke about your intellect and my intellect. Now, see, what is the essence of this teaching? Master says there is only one real self of the nature of absolute existence, consciousness, and bliss. It is all pervading. It is eternal, means it transcends the time, means it is the truth. Why it is the truth? It is unchanging. It cannot be objectified. Let us take the 5 attributes of the real self. It cannot be objectified. It is unchanging. It is truth. It is eternal, and it is all pervading. Through the intellect, I have to understand this part again and again and again and again. So, because it is a subjective area of the research, we have to use the metaphor. Just as the gold appears in various ornaments, but remains gold in essence. All individual beings are the expression of one real self. That real self is the gold. We are the ornaments. You may like or dislike the ornaments. You have millions of waves. The waves converts into a storm or also the flood. But water is the essence. So here the master gives you another clue that what is in the name in the form. Where there you find a name in the form. Wave, name in the form. Necklace, ring, name in the form. The moment you find the name in the form, it depends on something that is permanent. Bueno. Body, mind, intellect, and ego, they are changing. They are not eternal. They are My body has shape has changed. I'm an object because I know I know the body, I know the mind, I know this is the false I, so it is an object. Body minus consciousness, name in the form drops. Golden ring minus gold. Where is the golden ring? Where is the golden ring? Show me. Where is the necklace? So you see, we are again, after telling you something about so why this subject is chosen. Now answer this. To dissolve the ignorance, which is the root cause of suffering. We want to settle, abide in one reality to drop the ignorance. And ignorance causes the suffering. So we will bring an end to the suffering. And when we reach to the real self, that is of the nature of permanent peace, happiness, love, truth, and wisdom. So we are already abiding into that. We are living into that. See the way the intellect is used. Like turning on a lamp in a dark room, darkness vanishes instantly. Realization of oneness dispels ignorance just as the light removes the darkness. We have to use metaphors. There is no other way. This is subjective reality. So when the mind identifies with the duality, what is that duality? I and you. Now you see, just take an example. I and you. Oh, let us take, I am here, Ashok is there. Let us take an example of Ashok. I just told him that he should keep his eyes open. Now you see, first I recognize there are two, I and Ashok. I made a statement, keep your eyes open. Mentally, he might be thinking, reacting. But in a group session, it becomes very difficult for reaction. Another duality, what he thinks of himself. I have seen this beard guy so many times. He thinks himself of, now you see another duality. The moment, that is why Master says, when the mind identifies with the duality, desires and fears multiply, reactions multiply. You fall into lack of awareness. Non-dual vision brings equanimity. That is why we are searching only one real self, one supreme consciousness. Are you thinking? I'm giving you some supra-intellectual candies to chew. Just as a rope mistaken for a snake causes fear, but is revealed as harmless when truly seen. A seeker's confusion ends with the true knowledge. And intellect can give us the true knowledge. Our goal is to find, who am I? Who am I? I'm the real self of the nature of permanent peace, happiness, love, truth, and wisdom. Why it is permanent, eternal, and all pervading? It does not change. It does not objectify. On that pure consciousness, everything appears. The word appears as a name in the form. The word you appear as a name in the form, your personality, your personal, professional, social life, my personal, professional, and social life. They just appear. Dewdrops. So once we have understood The master says we have to go with the reasoning again. I will master. From the master's point of view, I'm saying the master says, now I will unfold many principles which will help you to contemplate and reflect. Why? To be absorbed into meditation. Why? To bring an end to this suffering. Why? To recognize that permanent peace, happiness. You see, why? Once you find the real self, there is no why. Why comes to an end. That is the ultimate cause. It is like climbing a staircase. You have multi-story house. So each step prepares for the next until you reach to the roof. Ultimate cause. The journey moves from listening. Pay attention again. Again, I'm using the intellect. Pay attention. The journey moves from listening to truth, reflecting on its meaning, meditating until it is internalized. But you told us that we are of the nature of the real self. Why should I meditate and internalize? But you don't know. Tell me, do you know that you are the real self? No. So that is why I have to internalize it. What I have done, I have internalized my reactions, my anger, my anxiety, my duality, my conflict, my ignorance. This is the journey Master is talking about. And I told you again, he is not talking of any religion, cult, dogma, belief. He says, no, you have to apply your intellect to find whether you are Satchitanand or not. After all, if you want to learn how to swim, you first learn to instructions. You listen to the instructions, then you practice in a shallow water, then gradually gain confidence until swimming becomes natural. That is the process of internalization. Now, I've attended your 1 hour of session once a week and I'm not anywhere. Yes, you will not be anywhere. Why you will be anywhere? No, I'm not agitated. I got an email today in the morning. That person, I told you that who left, said, no, I have reached to that state. And I said, no. So that person has left for about 2 months. So today in the morning, he said, no, I want to join it again. I have yet to reach to that state. Internalization. The seeker, it is your responsibility as a seeker to cultivate discernment. It is your duty to let go of attachment. It is your duty to consistently inquire into the real nature of this self. You are reactive. Is your intellect active? Ask yourself, is the real self reacting or I don't ask. Why I don't ask? With laziness, lack of awareness. And I told you, just to give an example, the intellect helps you to prevent that laziness. Like a sculpture chiseling away all that is not the statue. You see the stone, perception inside. Perception of a sculpture, inside is a statue in that stone. That is what the listening, learning, contemplation, reflection, and internalization in the practice. Did you understand that? Sculpture only see the, we also see the stone, but sculptures see that statue in the stone. Intellect helps me to see the real self in me, but I have to recognize it. The process is not about gaining something new, but removing ignorance. Removing those areas of the stone, you break it, and now the eyes is done, nose is done, and sculpture is statues there. That is the journey. I'm talking the highest journey. Highest journey. And just now we go to the, now we learn another principle. That is what we say, I've been talking about. There is a false I, there is a real I. So accept absolute existence, consciousness, bliss. The rest is false. False does not mean that I have to drop it. I have to destroy it. I have to simply recognize it. Again, metaphor. You see the mirage water. So do you rush to that place to destroy the mirage? Intellect knows. No, they're not there. Are you understanding? I need that awareness. Intellect helps me to drop the lack of awareness and to live into the higher awareness. We are not using the intellect to increase our IQ and then commit suicide. I know I've been talking about this again and again. You may not feel good, but that is the fact. You increase your IQ, you don't find yourself. But that is the fact. You increase your IQ, there is no surety that you are in peace and happiness. So maybe you increase your IQ by adding more information and multiplying that information. That is your IQ. We are talking of the common sense intellect. So false I. So real self is what? Real self is absolute existence, consciousness, bliss. Let us take it as pure consciousness. In contrast, the false self comprises of all that changes, including the body, mind, intellect, and ego, and the thoughts, and feeling and emotion. Can I take my intellect to that level of awareness where pleasure or pain, any thought, feeling, and emotion is perceived as separate from me? You are already there. But in order to do that, we have to go step by step. It is not. But we can have we can find the cognitive change. When we practice meditation, we find the calmness. Then we should ask the intellect, does this calmness depend on anything outside? No. It is independent. It is something within me. It is something beyond the body, mind, intellect, and the ego. We have to use the body, mind, intellect, and we have to transcend this. That is the journey. Real versus false. That is why we say real versus false. Characteristics of the false, it keeps on changing. It changes its shape in the name. How can you say, oh, you have changed your shape now? Every day the shape changes. You rub your hands, you have already destroyed 50,000 cells, science says. But at the same time, you have renewed another 50,000 cells also. So whatever is changing, I have to include how simple it is for this guy who has been doing, understanding this journey, raindrops, spiritual vibration. Come on, raindrops. It was not there. Now it is today. It is changing. So it is not it has nothing to do with the spirituality. Finished. No, it gives me a pleasure. Okay, let me enjoy that. But pleasure is short lived. It doesn't mean when I say false, you don't enjoy the pleasure. Master is not saying that. I'm sitting comfortable with the body on the chair, so I specifically bought this chair so that I can sit in a lotus pose, in a comfortable, in a pleasant way, so that I can speak without any disturbance. I use it, but at the same time, I know it is not me. God gave, our guru, my guru and Ashok guru is the same. So our guru has given more grace and blessings to Ashok than to me because he's constantly visiting the monastery. He is not able to tolerate so much of peace. That is why he goes into stress. Does that make any sense? False and real. I have to live into that awareness. I get carried away. I'm attached. I fall into lack of awareness. I have to drop all this. That is why we say the purity of the mind. So, unchanging reality, the essential substance. So, you see that essential substance is the, for example, clay pot. The real self, if it is clay, then false self is clay pot. What else? Your floor, shining floor, that is also a clay pot. That is also a clay. But I see the shining floor, the roof, the walls, the skyscrapers. You see the different format of the same clay. It is only the intellect can help me to understand this. No, without understanding, I will do this meditation. Nothing is going to happen. The vast and the deep body of water is the ocean. Metaphor, another metaphor as a real self. Wave, currents in the foam are temporary, they are changing. Space, the all pervading space, skyscrapers, houses, streets, false. They are changing. We can build a skyscraper on any highway. But what is the essence? I have to use the intellect to find essence. What the default mind does, default mind forgets this essence. Why it forgets the essence? First, because of duality, then because of pain and pleasure, then because of the false I, then because of the unripe ego. That is all included in the ignorance. First thing, then I start projecting happiness outside. Once I have a taste of the food that I had in a particular restaurant, so my mind projects happiness there again. So instead, my mind has to search my real entity. I start searching happiness outside. So I said, no, I'm already getting happiness, which is easily available. Even I can use the credit card if I don't have the money. I may be in a heavy debt. So who cares? Pleasure is there after all. So enjoy that pleasure. I don't do it. I'm very mindful of that. Projection of happiness. Have you seen the robot? They made their eyes, legs. You have robo dogs. We are just a robo. We think it is my eyes. No, it's a robo. It's my body. No, not my body. It is an instrument. I have to use it. So that creates a false I. So I become an individual. Now that individual starts searching happiness outside, avoiding pain. So what is happening? You see that? I will go in deep, but you see, so I told you that I go to a restaurant, I get a pleasure. My mind wants to say, repeat the action again, go and get the pleasure. Not only this, you are married, you have 5 kids, and you went to a conference. There you met a girl that gives you the pleasure. You start repeating the same thing. The individual is projecting happiness there. Not only in one thing, in almost everything. So it means there is a karma cycle. Karma, desire, pleasure, pain. Karma, desire, pleasure, pain. Karma, desire, pleasure, pain. And I'm constantly living in ignorance and continue to suffer. And then you start blaming others. You add another layer of ignorance. We add another layer of ignorance. And then what happens, even at the age of 90, I have, I cannot see my check. Have you given this check to my son? Come on. I've seen people. In India, I've seen people. Here also in New Jersey. Anne is 90 years old. She has a lot of property. And then she talked to me that, I just want to uh, equally distribute among my 2 sons, and so that I'm totally free. Do it in the when there is a right time. You see, the entire life goes in ignorance. We continue to live in ignorance and suffering. Why does the external seeking leads to frustration? Because there is a continuous repeated cycle. So first, that individual is false. It is made up, it consists of body, mind, intellect, ego plus consciousness. So I give the weightage that I am an individual. This is my real I. So I perform an action with this body, mind, intellect entity. Whenever I perform the action with this entity for personal pleasure or fulfillment, they are driven by ego and attachment to the results. They will not give you any peace and happiness. Or for momentary, because of projection, otherwise there is no happiness there. These actions reinforce existing impressions already in your mind. I gave you an example of eating in a particular restaurant, you repeat it. So you have a sensuality, so you will go for another sensuality, you are get attracted to the opposite sex. Or a car, or anything. Many, many impressions leading to a cycle of craving and dissatisfaction. Craving, pleasure, dissatisfaction. Why? Why dissatisfaction? Now I'm not feeling the pleasure because I'm not eating the same food. So I have to go there. Action. This is the cry of emptiness, the sense of incompleteness. We always continue to feel. Now you see, these principles I'll be talking about in in the following session. So I feel because of sense of incompleteness. So when I'm repeating the same pleasure again and again in anything, it is a cry of emptiness, frustration. So there is a lack of awareness. So lack of awareness, the default mind. Default mind is running, projecting happiness outside. So it says happiness is outside, what you are talking about. Forget about the real self. There is no real self. So we should also understand how to break this cycle. This, we have to break the cycle of karma, impressions, desires, craving, and it continues throughout the life. So then there has to be some principles by which we can drop this karma, the cycle of karma. And if we don't break this cycle of the karma, because we have a sense of lot of desire, why we have a desires to fulfill outside? Because there is a sense of incompleteness. And because of the sense of incompleteness, I will create the further desires and further attachment and further aversion. That is what the master says. Did you understand clearly that there is no water in the mirage? But my default mind claims again there is a water in the mirage. So let us just pursue that. I believe you are getting it, that water may be anything in the world I am seeking. It is a self-perpetuating trap. So the master picks up each and every step at the subtler level to get rid of this pleasure and pain principle. As an individual, the more you think that you are an individual, or you may think that you are stupid or you think you are super intelligent, both are individual. So one master, I'm concluding, one master says that the individual condition is compared to that of a silkworm that spins a cocoon and becomes trapped within it. We are trapped by the consequences of our actions and desires and false identity. It is a perpetual unrest. Perpetual unrest. When the session is going to come to an end, that is also a perpetual unrest. You have talked enough, you have criticized us enough. Now, you see that? That is all for today. So, yes, Dennis, you want to throw some light on my craziness.
No, there was a lot of interesting things in today's sessions, but I will just reflect on two points. First one, you mentioned in the beginning, living in the present moment, and I think what it means, it first of all, it means bypassing the mind completely. I think because the mind that uses sense organs to perceive reality can never live in the present moment. Simply because perception through sense organs takes some time. For example, an eye that perceives the shape of an object and sends that information to the brain uses a series of electrochemical reactions that take time. It may be a small amount of time, maybe some microseconds, but still it is not instant. So by the time that information about the object reaches the brain, the object has already changed. So we always lag behind. The reality that we see has already changed. So the world we perceive is always like a microsecond in the past. And living in the present moment has to happen with some kind of different perception that happens instantly without any time lag. And that is simply not possible with the mind. So that my reflection here is that it has to happen somehow behind the mind or beyond the mind. And the second point about the intellect, that intellect is perhaps the most powerful tool and the main tool that enables us to follow this path of self-discovery and awakening. Why? Because intellect can, because only the intellect can destroy the delusion that is present in the mind. When the mind, for example, emotionally claims something like "I hate this person" or "I cannot live without this thing," the intellect can question these claims and prove to the mind that they are false. That this is how the mind is purified. Uh, but
Beautiful.
but even intellect has its limitations. Intellect cannot perceive the real self directly. The intellect cannot live in the present moment, because intellect is still a part of the mind, and the mind is dual. And we know that real self is not dual. It is the seer and the seen at the same time. It is the object and the subject at the same time. And this is something intellect cannot fully understand. So we use the intellect to get rid of the delusion, to purify the mind, to destroy blind beliefs of the mind, so that the truth can manifest itself.
Beautifully you said. Simple example. When I started this session and I perceived you all, your body, your mind, your intellect has changed a lot now. But because of likes and dislikes and attachment and detachment of the mind, I feel as if you are not changed and I'm not changed. You have a soulmate, you perceive, your soulmate has found another soulmate. You continue to see this soul, that person as your soulmate, but your soulmate has another soulmate. Changes everything. It changes everything. I recognize that change? It means perception. So either you perceive by the senses, default mind. Perceived by the mind, default mind. Perceived by the intellect with the discernment, clarity. This is what, I'm summarizing what Dennis has. Yes, Jerry and David, what you have to say.
Thank you, sir. Wow, it's like you were in our home last night. This whole entire lesson, I feel like we visited last night. And I just love the way that you articulated it. And when we're able to sit in the real self, then the intellect will be inspired at that highest level. It won't rationalize our addictions or our perpetuation of anything. It sees everything clearly. and thereby getting rid of all the ignorance and the suffering. But until that time, and we have to train our mind. I loved your silent aphorism or metaphor, just perfect. So thank you so much. It was great.
Beautifully, you said intellect has to be inspired. Default mind never gets inspired. It follows its impulsive, habitual, instinctive animal nature. It will oppose the teacher. I had opposed it. I fought with my master that you always go to the rich people home, you don't come to me. He visited 5 times my home. Ashok knows it. And we had such a gala feast of more than 200 people. I'm talking in India. So what I did, I just decorated my house as if it is a palace because I'm welcoming my master. That is the inspiration. If the intellect uses that inspiration, it helps a great deal. I did. I performed all those rituals. Yes, David.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, definitely perfect timing for this lesson. The fascination for me is just the power of the intellect, and that really is the journey to awakening is through the intellect. And we need to honor it. We need to feed it. And just focusing on that, I can already feel delusion diminishing. And that higher awakening is through the intellect. I love the metaphor or analogy, whatever, with the silkworm, because when we're in the delusional state, that's what we're doing. We're spinning a web that ultimately captures us, which is a perfect metaphor for me. So thank you.
Beautiful. Yes, let us live in the world, no problem. Internally, the knowledge that awareness is intact, where I'm going, how the default mind is active, it's reactive, it's attachment, aversion. You remove that. Go there. Where is the problem? You live in that state of inner higher awareness. Yes.
The asking the right questions.
Yes.
And that's how we train the mind to ask the right questions to the intellect. Because otherwise we just keep perpetuating.
Yes. So if you ask the right question, means that you are hitting back the assumptions created by the default mind. Means you're asking the right question. And all our masters say is ask that, who am I at this moment? I am reacting, who am I? And from there, the journey begins. Yes, Samir, you want to share?
Sir, I have been noticing one thing, that as we keep on progressing in the journey, the intellect starts challenging the default mind.
Beautiful.
And the voice of intellect is louder, or the voice of our default mind is louder. As knowledge settles down in our mind, the voice of intellect becomes louder than the voice of default mind. And then we don't have to think of doing. Before, no, I used to make my mind understand that this is right, I have to do this right thing, you should not go towards wrong thing, this. Now I don't have to make my mind understand that do this. It is automatically doing the right thing. It is in the blood now. Means maybe I may be using wrong word.
Right.
But it is naturally coming to me that okay, I'm not doing anything. Before, when I used to do something right, I used to think that I have done very good thing. Means my mind used to boast that I have done very good thing today. But now it is not happening with me. I am doing right and I am not thinking anything above and below. I am just okay. This I have to do, and this is what is to be done. So that is, I think I am clear in what.
Yes, yes, you are right. This is beautiful statement you made. This is what the cognitive change is. I can recognize here is my intellect and here is the default mind. Default mind says, oh, just skip the session. Intellect says, no, you simply join the session. So greater the power of the discerning intellect is there, it becomes natural. Yes, that is a beautiful point you say, that the intellect has to challenge the default mind in the beginning. In the beginning, it takes lot of effort, but after that, it becomes so natural. That naturalness is understood as cognitive change. The change in the thought, in the speech, in the action, in your behavior, in your attitude, in your response in daily life. That is a great change. Beautiful. I appreciate it. Yes, Terry, you have to say something. Perhaps you have to unmute. It is still muted. Yes.
The intellect, because it is so different from emotion,
Yeah.
that I think that is why it's a good tool to use to get a distance
Yeah, to do the
from
self
the
inquiry.
emotion. And you have time, then you have a delay in perception. Like what Dennis said, there's a delay in perception that gives you time to not react, but simply perceive.
You are right. That is why we talk too much about the present moment. That present moment seems to be the space between the perception and perceiver and perception. Perceiver and perceived, observer and observed. That space is the present moment. The moment we have that space, attachment has no role to play. Aversion has no role to play. Beautifully discussed and shared. Thank you all for your wisdom and namaste to everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, sir. Namaste, everyone.
Namaste.